So the Boston Celtics are currently the third seed in the Eastern Conference. They're 31-22 on the year. And they got some people surprised a little bit that they're doing this good. You know, as a Celtics fan, this is awesome for me, of course. Let's ask ourselves, are the Celtics really the third best team in the East? And are they potentially the second best team in the East ahead of the Toronto Raptors? Well, when we look at the Celtics, in terms of the personnel, I don't know if there's any one player that really stands out. I mean, I wouldn't say that any of their guys are among the top 15 in the league, definitely not top 10. I mean, they have Isaiah Thomas, who is a dynamic scorer. He's fearless going to the basket, even though he's one of the shortest players in the league. But at the same time, he could score 25 points and go, on 45% shooting, but then other times he'll shoot like 35 from the field and he'll miss some shots, and he'll shoot the ball when he's got a teammate open next to him. But then you look at guys like Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder, two legitimate 3-and-D players. Both of these guys averaging about 15 points per game, shooting around 36% from three. Marcus Smart, who's also a defender, even if his offense hasn't really caught up yet, although he's shown some signs lately. Amir Johnson and Jared Sullinger, which weirdly enough is one of the better defensive front court tandems in the league, which I didn't think I'd be saying. I knew Amir Johnson was legit, but Sullinger has emerged as a defensive player as well. And it's all boiled together by Brad Stevens, who I feel is one of the best head coaches in the league for his execution and his ability to draw up plays, whether it be out of timeouts, out of bounds, and just get the most out of his guys. But I wouldn't consider the Celtics to be more talented than the Heat or the Hawks or the Bulls, the Pacers, or the Pistons, to be honest with you. But when we look at some of the other teams in the East, they have some weaknesses. I mean, Miami, they have one of the worst offenses in the league. They're 29th in points per game. They're 26th in offensive rating. And I think a big reason for that is Eric Spoelstra likes to run this slowed down half-court offense with a lot of off-ball action, where I feel sometimes he should be running more simple plays like a horn set for Dragic or Wade and get the screens from Whiteside or Bosch. I feel like that could be better for the Heat, but I mean, the Heat have, like I said, they have one of the worst offenses in the league. The Chicago Bulls, their offense has also been pretty bad. They're 23rd in offensive rating. They're really a middle ground team if you want to look at points per game. Like Chicago, they're dealing with the fact that outside of Jimmy Butler and Pau Gasol, the only offense they really have is an inconsistent Derrick Rose. I mean, they're still trying to find scoring on the wing. Etuan Moore has been a bit of an emergence, but the Bulls, they're just looking for options in Chicago, to be honest. McDermott, I'd like to see McDermott get some more minutes. Mirotic, he can hit threes, but his shooting from the field has been really off. And I say all that to say, the Celtics don't really have any glaring weaknesses. And that's a strength when you think about it, because the Celtics are 12th in offensive rating, they're 2nd in defensive rating, they're 6th in offensive points per game, they're 10th in points allowed. Just solid across the board. I mean, when you look at the road record of some of the teams in the East, the Heat are at 500, the Hawks are below 500, the Bulls and the Pacers and the Pistons are below 500. The Celtics are 15-12 on the road because they're a well-composed, scrappy, tough team that's incredibly well-coached. And I don't want to act like the Celtics are just some perfect team, because there are times this season when, I don't care how good your coach is, when the only guy you have who is a natural scorer is under 6 feet tall, it can get tough. Now, do they actually stack up to the Toronto Raptors? I mean, they don't have a chance against the Cavs, so I'm not going to entertain that conversation. But do they have a chance against the Raptors? Well, here's the thing. If the Raptors and the Celtics face off in a 7-game series, look, Brad Stevens is a better coach than Dwayne Casey. I don't need to tell you why. However, the Raptors might have the two best players in that series, because DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, that's a hell of a backcourt. And they might have the best big man in the series too in Valanciunas. So, the Raptors may just be too talented for the Celtics. Now, one thing I will say with Toronto is I haven't been a big fan of their late-game execution when I have seen them this year. It's been a whole lot of DeMar DeRozan isolations. I feel like they're good enough to where you could get more than just that. I mean, Luis Scola has been starting at power forward for them, and I mean, he's averaging 10 points. He's getting 5 rebounds a game. The thing I'm surprised of is he's shooting 43% from 3, which, I mean, shout out to him, but I have to feel like, from a defensive standpoint, Brad Stevens is going to know how to basically kill you for having Luis Scola in the game. I mean, he'll run Jerebko, he'll run Olynyk in there. He'll do something. But even with all that, it's a talent-driven league. And I do think the Celtics would, definitely give the Raptors a series. But Kyle Lowry and DeRozan, they are pretty legit. The Celtics, I believe they're probably a medium talented team with a whole lot of heart and toughness, with a great head coach, and as a result, they're the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. And I'll just be honest, I'm actually decently confident in their chances against pretty much every team in the East except for Toronto or Cleveland, for reasons that I kind of already talked about before. Would I be surprised if they lost to Miami or Atlanta in the playoffs? Not really, but that's going to do it. Nugget series is back tomorrow. Shout out to the Broncos or the Panthers, and that's going to do it.